What the hell? What is going on? Let's zoom in. Hey, there we go. Okay. All right, I'm ready. I just gotta find my coaster. Got my coaster for my tea. Let's make it happen, Captain. Oh, I need my notepad. I'm very untogether. I was running a little late, so I'm a little rushed. Where my, just gotta get my notepad and actually can, okay. Now I'm ready. Now I'm ready. Now I'm ready. What am I doing? Okay, hey, good evening, everyone. The Q&A sessions with BroDiallo. I just got a few things to get off my chest before we go into Q&A, and then we. Oh, that's a little too much up in my grill. I'm from the hood. You can't get all in my face like that. Let me just zoom out just a touch. That's a little better. All up in my grill, you know. I gotta be careful how you deal with it. All right. Let's make it happen, y'all. Q&A with BroDiallo, but like I said, I got a few things I want to discuss that I don't want to forget. Let's just pull that sucker up. Give me 1 second, cause ain't nobody got time for this. Anyway, let's just get right into it, cause I know I went kind of long last Wednesday. Oh, and let me give you an update with the BroDiallo broadcast. If you've been listening to Q4 Radio on Monday mornings, you'll notice they've been playing like pre-recorded shows and reruns. And I will be back live in the Q4 studio unless, they come up with some more variants in March. It was February, in March. So, the BroDiallo show will be broadcasting on Q4 Radio, on the Q4 Signal, and the Q4... the Q4 website, but it's going to be reruns and pre-recorded until I'll be live in the studio the first Monday of March, if everything goes as planned, unless the Illuminati, like I said, unless Bill Gates genetically engineers a new variant to take away our freedom and liberty. So that's the update on that. So let's just get started. Let me know if you have any issues with the sound or hearing or comprehension, and I will see what I can do on my end. If I can't fix the problem, I'll be sure to blame something outside myself. So first thing I want to talk about is this Jewish lady by the name of Miss Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg. It's really funny to see Whoopi Goldberg is in trouble with people. And if you're not familiar, Whoopi Goldberg made the statement that that the Holocaust, not a, but the Holocaust was not about race. And Whoopi Goldberg was wrong and right about that. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about RiRi and ASAP Cooney, because ASAP Cooney, I y'all didn't put them on my mind. Y'all keep, showing me that image of them. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about, of course, this Let's Talk About Bill Cosby documentary. But I don't have too much to say about that. And then I want to talk about this meme going around of black men and mental health. And then I'm going to zoom through all that. I'm not going to go into too much depth. I just got to touch on it because, it's been on my mind. And it's been it's been on y'all minds, of course, because I'm really talking about things that I kind of see being shared around the community. Now, of course, yes, the life-sustaining capacity of the planet is being lost. We're in the sixth mass extinction, and the ice caps are melting, and we're on the verge of World War III. And the Ukraine is going to be the spark. Central Europe has always been the start of what I call European global murder orgies, aka world wars. Yeah, there's a lot going on, not to mention the ongoing campaign of genocide and oppression of African people. But of course, RiRi's pregnancy takes precedence over all that. So that's what we're gonna deal with. What's really the deal? Some major celebrities. I can't even look y'all in the eye. That's why I'm just looking down. Cosby, Whoopi, RiRi, and Tyrese, Kanye, and Will Smith. Okay, and we want to deal with what's really. But the good thing about that is because all of this and all these issues are interrelated to the larger systems of white hegemony, capitalism, and black consciousness as it relates to black people's capacity or potential for liberation and revolution. So back to Whoopi Goldberg, because for the longest time, I thought Whoopi Goldberg was Jewish, and she married into a Jewish man some time ago and took on that name Goldberg. And if anybody's love for white folks should not be brought into question, it shouldn't be Whoopi's. And y'all creating this meme. Y'all created this meme of Whoopi Goldberg back in the 80s of her with her locks and her dark skin, her Nubian features. And people say that, and there's this meme going around saying that Whoopi Goldberg was never ugly. She was never unattractive. That the problem wasn't with Whoopi Goldberg. It was with the standards of beauty in the black community. Now, I agree with that, but I think Whoopi Goldberg is probably the worst person to use for that, because Whoopi Goldberg, at the same time she was that back in the 80s and early 90s, she also wore blue contacts. She also dated Ted Danson and had Ted Danson perform at a roast for her in blackface with white lips and a top hat. Whoopi Goldberg has been an icon. She's got Grammys, Oscars, Tonys, and she has all the accolades for, and she's definitely talented, iconic person. But this is a woman who's been prominent throughout many black struggles, and her take on most of our struggles and most of the issues that impact the black community have been, to say the least, problematic, if not some handkerchief head bootlicking stuff. And the problem with Whoopi Goldberg, mark my words, is the fact that she ran the same rhetoric. She ran that same hustle. When she got up on The View and said it's not about race, she tried to run on the Jews, the hustle she runs on us, because a lot of prominent black people like to try to say it's not about race in order to dilute it, to make it for everybody. Whoopi Goldberg said that the Holocaust wasn't about race, it was about man's injustice to man. And if you say it's not about race, it's about man's injustice to man, then everybody gets to pile in, and that includes everybody. That includes the woman who got an unfair speeding ticket, all injustice. And the Jewish community in general and the Zionists don't play that shit. The Zionists take the position that the Holocaust was something in history that has never been before happened and never since been repeated. They say that the Holocaust was a very unique event in human history. It is not a Holocaust, it is the Holocaust. And despite the recorded fact that Europeans have gone all over the world committing mass atrocities, genocide, and extermination campaigns, they never came up with the term or word for genocide. There had never been anyone charged or convicted of genocide. The term genocide did not even exist until what happened in Germany during World War II. So, from the exterminations of the people of the Caribbean islands, the Colonagos, the Arawaks, to the ongoing genocide campaign here in the United States against the Native and the Canadian genocide, the genocide against the Pacific Islanders, the genocide against the New Zealanders, the Herero people on the African continent, the Aboriginal people of Australia. Despite all of that, white folks are like, no, genocide started in Nazi Germany. When we who study history in an unbiased, honest position from a non-Eurocentric perspective, understand that what happened in Germany was basically European aggression on an industrial scale turned in on itself. The Germans had practiced what the Germans did in their own backyard, really in Poland, was internalized. And the reason why Germans had to carry out an internalized campaign of genocide is because they were locked out for the scramble for Africa. If you look at if you look at the African continent, you find people that speak French, that speak English, that even speak Portuguese and Dutch. But you don't find on the African continent, you don't find countries where the colonial language is German. Same thing in the so-called New World. You look at the New World, English, French Canada, some Caribbean islands, I believe Suriname, and Caribbean countries, they even speak French, Spanish, of course. All over the colonized world, German is not a very common language. And everywhere you find people that are versed in a colonial language, if you find out what language they speak in a foreign land outside of Europe, what European language they speak is the language of the people who committed genocide against them. So if you go to Haiti, and you want to know who committed genocide on the island of Santo Domingo or Dominican Republic / Haiti, it is the Spaniards, Portuguese, and the French. Who committed genocide in the United States? What language am I speaking? English. Who committed genocide in Canada? They speak English and French. And that's how it goes all over the world. And so they don't speak German. And Germany, the reason for World War I and World War II is that Germany felt like it was locked out of the great European scramble to take over the world. They had some play in it. But then there's a caveat to that, because actually Germany did get in on the European exploration. When I was in school, they called European conquest of the world the age of exploration. In my old textbooks, that's what I read about. When the Europeans went into Africa, went to Australia, came to the New World, those chapters of that book and that era where they went around colonizing, slaughtering, and enslaving was called the age of exploration. And I was taught as a child at D.A. Holmes Elementary School, a little poor black kid in school, that Europeans, or they didn't say Europeans, they said the explorers. They didn't even focus so much because they wanted to put the emphasis on America. So they couldn't say the Spaniards, the Portuguese, especially the Mediterranean peoples. They couldn't really say, and also if you look, let me just say, you look at the World War II, the nations that were of the Axis powers, Italy, Germany, and Japan, were nations that either lost their colonies, wanted colonies, or were losing ground. And it was a colonial war, colonizer versus wannabe colonizers. But as I was saying, they said that these people had a curiosity. They wanted to know about the world. And the people who failed to colonize the world, those Africans, those Pacific Islanders, those Aboriginal people, those Native Americans, those Inuits, they didn't have any curiosity. They were content just to sit where they were and suck bone marrow. They didn't want to go out and explore the world. So thank goodness that the Europeans went out and explored the world, or else all these other peoples around the world would just be sitting on shores of tropical lands, sucking bone marrow. And that was the age of exploration, which is crazy. So with Whoopi Goldberg there are so many issues, misconceptions, and myths about European identity, European conflicts, European motivations embedded in that one story of Whoopi Goldberg saying that the Holocaust was not about race. I know that's what she said, and what she said is both accurate and inaccurate. It's equally correct and incorrect because it was about race. She was wrong in that, but I know what she meant when she said that. Whoopi Goldberg should come out and say, all I was trying to do is do to Jewish people what I've been doing to my own people, diluting the struggle. See, when black people talk about our suffering, you can't talk about black struggle. You can't talk about black injustice. You have to talk about man's injustice to man. It's just what black people went through, and they come up with this myth that Irish people were enslaved. And what about the immigrants? And we got to share our struggle and our suffering with every other group. Like we have to share our suffering with the LGBTQ. We have to share our suffering with women and the women's feminist movement. We have to share our suffering with the immigrant population and what the immigrants went through. We even have to share our suffering with other European minorities like the poor Irish and the discrimination. So they're used to diluting because you can't just say black, I'm for black, I'm blacker than black. And black first, black power, race first. They dilute it. And Whoopi Goldberg has always done this, which she is a liberal. And this is what liberals do. She's an integrationist. She's a status quo Negro. So you can't be too black because that will mark you. And so she was like, it worked. So if she says, oh, people, there's so much injustice in America, which it is. There's a lot of injustice. Redneck white folks got a lot of injustice going on. But all suffering ain't equal. And a lot of white people's suffering in America is self-inflicted. A lot of white people's suffering is self-inflicted. It is white people who upended their own progressive reforms because they saw black people taking advantage of them. White women suffer so greatly is because white women are so busy. They always have a conflict because every time they try to fight for some women's rights, it comes up against racism and patriarchy. And they was like, damn, if I truly undermine the patriarchy, then I'm going to undermine white power in general. And if I undermine white power in general, then I'm going to underwrite the opportunities and unjust opportunities I have as white women. So at the same time, black men got the right to vote. White women wanted to undermine that. And white women have to say, how do I benefit and get integrated into an unjust system while maintaining the elements of injustice that benefit me as a white woman? How do I maintain my white status while overcoming my female status? So that's why you find the same thing with Jewish people. Jewish people are like, how do I get over this ethnic conflict, this religious discrimination, while continue to take advantage of the opportunity that whiteness affords me? And black folks, there's a lot of black. Dr. Umar wants to free black people while, committing discrimination against gay black people and single mother black people. It's like, it's an all or none game. And that's why we trip up a lot. It's all in or all out. There's a lot of wealthy black people that were like, damn, how do I maintain all my money and all, I want private jets. I want yachts. I want to be able to go to the third world and have my $1 American be worth 50 to 100 times what it's worth over there and enjoy all the luxuries of imperialism while claiming to be against racism and you can't be pro-capitalism, pro-imperialism, and anti-racism. Even ADOS is like, fine, I know that's one thing. As much as I hate ADOS, I respect about them. They don't pretend. They don't lie. They were like, we just want benefits for black Americans who have U.S. citizenship and all other black people be damned across the globe. And I will join you in the repression, exploitation of the black people across the globe if you give me full benefits and allow me to share in the spoils. They're one of the few honest groups of black folks as that's related. They lie about a lot of other shit. They even lie about what I just said, but through their campaigns, they expose themselves. They self-expose. Anyway, back to Sister Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg tried to do to the Jewish community what she does to black folks, dilute the cause and basically spread the cause around a vast group. So black suffering is just like everybody else suffering. And the Zionists don't play that shit. They was like, our suffering is unique. It stands alone. It should not be compared. It should not be contrasted. It should not be mixed. Nobody can get any of the sympathy. Shit, they won't share none of the spoils, none of the reparations, even though 6 million Jews died. But on that same list, the infirm, the gays, the pink triangle, more Slavs died. Hitler hated the Slavs. If you read Mein Kampf, don't read the whole book, just the excerpts. Just look up he hated the Slavish people as much, if not more, and felt that the Slavic races, the Bolsheviks, were a greater threat to the Aryan people than the Jews were. And he killed 20 million of them. He killed 20 million of them. But they don't get counted. Germany did have some African colonies before they lost them in World War I. And there were many black people in Germany. There's a book of many mixed race. And they also wrote and created called the Nuremberg laws. The Nuremberg laws also included people of black skin, jazz musicians, jazz people, jazz music was considered a corrupting element. So she was right that their race spanned a lot. So she tried to play that shit. And I think she'll recover. She'll pay proper penance. She'll bow down and get the week. And they're already saying that the 1 week suspension from The View was too much, was too harsh of a consequence. So, she'd be all right. She'll be back. Of course, she's going to have to go on an apology tour. It's like when Kanye dissed black people and our ancestors, he was just like, get over it. But when he dissed Taylor Swift, he quit his tour. He went to rehab. He re-examined his whole life. So, you better off dissing the entire black race than dissing one white person or offending one white person. You better off, disrespecting the entire black race than misspeaking. Because I understood what she was trying to say. She didn't say that the Holocaust was not an atrocity. She didn't say that she's not a Holocaust denier. She didn't in any way try to distort the impact or the numbers. She just misspoke. She wanted to say something profound, but she's just not articulated enough to speak on such sensitive issues in such a manner to tell the truth about something. And then so she just figured, I'll talk about this like I talk about black issues. I'll talk about the Holocaust the same way I talk about slavery. I'll talk about the Holocaust the same way I talk about Jim Crow. I'll dilute it and distort it and try to say it in such a way, say something right, but not necessarily deal with the core of the issue. It's got me this far. Walking the line, walking the tightrope has got me this far. But you can't play games with other races. And then here come black people. Black people ran back and got her, all of her statements about black people and the black community. Remember when Raven Simone said on that same show, I wouldn't hire a woman named Watermelon Drea. Raven Simone was disrespecting black people every week and stayed on the show till she was ready to go. But everybody now, black people are doing the same bullshit we did. Who did we pull this bullshit with? I think it was Nick Cannon or somebody else that ran afoul. Ice Cube got caught up with Dr. Sabi and the black Hebrew Israelite mythology, talking about black people are the original Hebrews and all that. And they made him apologize, and he had to go to become a mascot for Zionism. They forced that dude. Time you should go to the Times of Israel. Ice Cube. They made him become an official mascot for Israel. Don't do that. Ice Cube, rapper, joins right-wing event along with John Voight, who's a MAGA head. Sheldon Adelson is the man who funded Sheldon Adelson after sparking friendship with group's chair, Mort Klein, who's been accused of being Islamophobic and racist. So Ice Cube went to the ZOA the Zoa Gala, and spoke at the Zoa Gala about his support for Zionism. They made him, made him become a mascot in his. And remember, Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon, same thing, started talking greasy about it, and they forced Nick Cannon. They forced Nick Cannon to convert to Judaism. Nick Cannon became said that his great-great-grandfather was Jewish, but nobody told Nick Cannon, hey, Judaism is matrilineal, so you can't, a Jewish father does not make you Jewish. It's a matrilineal religion, so your mother has to be Jewish. So he should have lied and said one of his great-grandmas was Jewish. So they made him convert. And one more example. Nicki Minaj ran afoul. And remember, Nicki Minaj had a, let me show you this. Let's just show y'all this. Just how black people, how these coons do us. And I blame us too, because we let them get away with it. If you look at this, check this out. So right here, this is the cover for Nicki Minaj's single called Looking Ass Nigga, about the niggas that looking ass nigga. And she used this iconic photo of Malcolm X looking out the window with an AK-47. And she appears in the video without the same gun, but she had the clip. So you can go look this mess up yourself. But, this is what she did. And I have to remind y'all, stop using this photo as a sign of black power, because he's not looking out the window for Klansmen. He's not looking out the window for skinheads. He's not looking out the window for FBI agents. He's looking out this window with an AK-47 in hand, because just previous night, the NOI, Nation of Islam members, black Muslims, had tried to firebomb his home by throwing a Molotov into the window. And the window that they tried to throw it in was the window where two of his daughters were sleeping. And he said they threw it at such an angle where it glanced off the window and landed on the ground outside. But if they had successfully carried out that mission, the Molotov would have landed into the room where two of his daughters were sleeping and burned them and perhaps their whole family to death. And y'all still be sitting here saying, oh, it was the FBI. But I digress. And this is Malcolm's own word. Malcolm said the nation. Now, y'all want to argue, go to Paradise and argue with Malcolm, because I'm going to go off of what Malcolm said. But you see, but after she did this, she said she did a video, and after Nazi only video. Now, she had a video that had no Nazi symbols in it, no Nazi nothing. It was a video. I don't know if I can show y'all, but she did a video. And now I could go, man, I could just keep going and going and going. All these celebrities who disrespected that looking ass nigga album cover, single album cover. And she said black people are basically are too uptight. We don't understand art and symbols, and we're too uptight. And if you're offended and you got a problem with it, too bad, but y'all too uptight, and I'm sorry if you didn't understand what I was trying to say with looking ass nigga. I wasn't calling Malcolm X a nigga, woo, woo, woo. But then she had this video. I don't even know if it's available anymore. But I'm just trying to get some back. That and the imagery was not Nazi. And if you were against, it's still up. This is the video she apologized for. Let me try to get to the image where they said this. Oh, she changed the video. Oh, wow, Nicki. Oh, no, she didn't. She changed it. Sorry. I thought that the video was still up. And I don't even see any original images. Wow, Nicki. She remade the video. She remade the video. Oh, here it is. I do find some images. Now, I don't know. Some of y'all more tech savvy than me. But this is it. These are the Nazi symbols. You see the soldiers and the young money symbol, and she's sitting on a throne, and she has an image here of herself, Drake. Who's this? Chris Brown, Lil Wayne, and he's wearing like a Catholic priest, military, and that is not a Nazi. Anyway, they said it's a little too Nazi. There are some images from the original video. And here's a Melissa Morgan. Thanks for the blatant Nazi imagery in your video. Really illusion. So these are the Nazi imageries. So anyway, she came groveling on her silicone breast. She laid flat on her face and the silicone breast splayed out on the ground to apologize to anybody she's offended. And what's really whack about that is she just shit on the Malcolm X. She didn't say anything anti-Semitic in that video. That imagery that you saw of the storm, if you look at the stormtroopers, if you look at the Marvel movie cinematic universe, and you look at what's the name? Hydra in the comic books, Marvel there is so much. The word stormtrooper. The word stormtrooper literally comes out of Nazi. And the biggest franchise in the world, if you look at like General, let me show you. If you look at Star Wars literally took from Nazi imagery. This is General Moff. You know, the most iconic imagery. The stormtroopers, the Imperial Army from Star Wars was admittedly modeled after the Third Reich. Their uniforms, the title, their method, Blitzkrieg, and all of that. Nobody ever said nothing. And Star Wars has gone on unencumbered. And then they leaned even heavier into the Nazi imagery when you get into the. I'm sorry. I'm a geek. You know, I'm a geek. But if you look at the First Order, look at this. I ain't making this shit up. There's at the top of the First Order, which replaced the Empire, and then you got legitimate images from Nazi rallies with the flags, the three flags. Nobody, where's the Zionists? Where is the apology? So all I'm saying is, number one, for Nicki Minaj, she should have hired me. She should have hired me. You know, to be her, because I'm like, we got to shut down 80% of science fiction and action movies in Hollywood. Because having any imagery that could be related back to the Third Reich makes your media offensive, then we got to shut down half the imagery. I'm like, don't you apologize for a goddamn thing. And then whenever somebody comes to you anti-Semitic, say, hey, no, I'm not. I support the Beta Israel. What about the African Jews who are being forcibly sterilized in Zionist Israel? Shit. It's just like when what's his name? The Worm, what they call him? Dennis Rodman went to play in Utah, and he said he's not with this Mormon vibe, and they forced him to apologize. And he's like, I can't apologize. Remember, the Mormon church said Negroes don't have souls, and they wouldn't baptize Negroes into the priesthood, you know? So yeah, I'll apologize when I get a soul. So, I mean, yeah, any of you black people that run afoul of your white masters, you know, I got dirt on all of them. Any white group that claims you offended them, you know, you holler at me. I'll just send you a file on that group that you can use to strike back. But I know you ain't, because it ain't about your stand. Y'all only get salty. Y'all only get slick. Y'all only talk slick when you offend black people. And then it pisses me off because black people take disrespect. Black people take all this goddamn disrespect from these celebrities. And then as soon as another group get disrespected, and that group stands up and say, you ain't gonna disrespect us. We say, what about when they disrespected us? Y'all mad because the liberals are canceling somebody when we should have canceled them a decade before the liberals even found out who they were, before they even made it out the hood. They should have been canceled by us. So it's literally the black community is standing up saying, well, one or two things should happen. Other groups should accept the disrespect we accept, or other groups should represent us and stand up for when we're disrespected for us on our behalf, because we just sure ain't the blood clot doing it. Either way, it's crazy to me. Yeah, my cancellation list is so goddamn long. So goddamn, it's so much. I can't wear Jordans. I can't wear Yeezys. You know, I can't pop bottles with models. I can't wear a Gucci belt. It's so much shit I just can't do because I be on these one-man boycotts because y'all won't join me. And there's so many people I have canceled, you know. But anyway, what am I talking about? Whoopi Goldberg. Anyway, so there's a long, unbroken history of black people who have offended black people, the black race, and don't get caught on the carpet. And as soon as they slightly offend another population, they get their heads chopped off. And they go groveling back to everybody, but they don't offend. But some of that's got to do with them and their self-hatred, but a lot of that got to do with our racial self-esteem. We need to start holding people accountable for violating us. And I don't say, listen, cancellation. Cancel culture is not real, but we need to make it real. And any black celebrity that comes out against cancel culture is basically saying, screw black people. Because we're the only people that have to cancel people via social media and boycotts. We the only people that can't, that because they ain't looking at us to green light them. They ain't looking at us to for shit, but our support. So, you know, we need to make cancel culture real. We need to be able to say, you disrespect us, you violate our interests or our values as a people, you disrespect our ancestors, you done this way. And if a rapper goes on and say some lyrics that's out of place, this is the wrong gang, you know, there's so many rappers that are banned. Like, I think Tekashi's banned from St. Louis. No, it's banned from LA or something. I remember way back then, this has been around. Remember Tim Dog made that song, Fuck Compton, and they told he couldn't tour in Compton anymore, but you could be a black person that diss black people in particular, and you can tour the world. You say, fuck Compton, you couldn't come to Compton no more. And right now in Compton, black people are being purged. And I mean, utter madness. But back to Whoopi Goldberg. She just she made the mistake. Same thing, mistake Nicki Minaj made. Thinking she could treat other people like she treat her own people. She thinks she could talk about other people's issues and other people's histories and other people's atrocities the same way they talk about ours. That's power. But now I want to get to what the meat and potatoes of what she said about the Holocaust not being about race. The Nuremberg laws, the Nazis said it was about race. Let's just look at what was said. Look at, you know, you go to the United States Holocaust Museum. This is written by Jewish scholars. So, you know, if you can't cancel me, you know, you got to cancel the Holocaust Museum if you don't like what's being said here. You know, let me see if I can just enlarge this a little touchy. Where's the thing for the thing? What does it want me to update Chrome? I'm trying to, oh, maybe I can. I just want to enlarge this. Can y'all see this? Let's get rid of this. I don't see how you enlarge it. There used to be a thing right here. I'll try one more time. Or zoom? How you zoom? Now, I'm a G. I ain't no nerd. Anyway, I hope y'all can see the screen. It says, according to the Nuremberg law, a person with 3 or 4 Jewish grandparents was a Jew. But okay, that's how they determined who Jews were. A grandparent was considered Jewish if they belonged to the Jewish religious community. Right? Thus, the Nazis defined Jews by their religion, Judaism, not by the supposed racial traits that Nazism attributed to Jews. You see that? So if they got to suspend the Holocaust Museum, or somebody needs to put Whoopi Goldberg back on staff. I'll read that one time. The Nazis defined Jews by their religion, Judaism, not by the supposed racial traits that Nazis attributed. And I went to their source. I went to the National Holocaust. This was written by a Jewish scholar. Let's see if the name is on here. And then there's all these links everywhere you go. There's links at the end to give you more in depth, right? The laws also categorize some people in Germany as Mischlinge, mean mixed race person. According to the law, the Mischlinge, I don't know how German, were neither German nor Jewish. These people who had one or other Jewish grandparents. So there was a whole different group. You had German people, the Aryans, you had Jewish people, then you had people who were not of the white race. The Nazi regime required individuals to prove their grandparents' racial identity. If it's about race, why can't I just look at you? You ain't got to look at me and ask me about Grandma Sonetta. You ain't got to look at me and ask me about Grandpa and Grandpa Bowie. Look at me. You're like, well, what race is BroDiallo? Oh, we don't know. We got to ask his grandparents. Look at my hair texture. You know what I'm saying? I'm an African. You ain't got, who my grandparents? Who? Because if white folks want to come slaughter black people, which they on their way, not to fascism is in full swing. You think they're gonna come up to BroDiallo and be like, well, shoot, you've been in the America since the 1600s. My family been in this country dating back to the 1600s, forever and a day. We've been here since the first day of slavery. And you come to me, you ain't got to ask my grandparents. You don't need a DNA test. You can take an EYE test for BroDiallo. But the Germans had more complexity. And so it says, the Nazi regime required individuals to prove their grandparents' racial identities. To do so, people use religious records. You using religious records? These included baptism records, Jewish community records, and gravestones. But did the Nuremberg laws apply to other groups? Yes, while initially focused on Jews, the Nazi government clarified that the Nuremberg laws also applied to Roma, the Gypsies. That's a whole different ethnic group, right? Black people and their descendants. They could not be full citizens of Germany, nor could they marry or have sexual relations with people of German or related blood. So, she was right. The Jews were not singled out by religion. The Jews were singled out through not religious or biology. They were singled out through what is called ethnography. They were a separate ethnic group, but they were of the same racial group. If you read books like Hitler's Jewish Soldiers or The Final Solution, if you read those books, you'll find that the Germans had so much trouble determining who was Jewish and who wasn't. They had to go through extreme lengths, including they would walk up to German citizens and ask them to lower their trousers and look and see if they had been circumcised or not. So you could be a white man walking down the streets of Nazi Germany or a Polish man walking down the streets of Poland. And when they went into Poland, when they went into Krakow, they would go to door to door and say, who? Is your neighbor Jewish? Did you ever see your neighbor working on the Sabbath? You see your neighbor out, pickling stuff, making bagels. They weren't able to just look because a lot of the Germans look just like the Jews and a lot of the Jews look just like the Germans. And when they went into Poland, a lot of the Polish Jews look just like the Christian Jews. When they went into what do they call it? France, and set up Vichy France and split up France and occupied France. They were asking the French people, who are the Jews? So obviously these people all look alike. And here's another thing where they say, remember, pay attention to this. It says gravestones. They would go into communities of Jews and look at gravestones, right? Peep this. Peep this. What? Oh wait. Oh, here it is. Uh, what the hell? Oh wait. I can't find it. I don't want to say it until I can find it, but I know it's true. One more second. Give me one more second. I'll be right with you. Let me see if it's here. Oh no, that's something else. Anyway, I'll let y'all deal with that. Okay, I'll just give y'all the book that it's in because I can't find a link to it. This book right here, I have a copy of it. It's a very short read. But if you look at this book, the concise biography of Hitler, it kind of talks about some of the lesser known things about Hitler. It goes into detail about Hitler's sexuality and his struggles with sexuality. It goes into his mental health and how his mental health, the doctor that treated him for shell shock after World War II was assassinated as he rose to power and things of that nature. But it also talks about Hitler went to his hometown and destroyed the cemeteries of his hometown where his parents and other relatives were buried. Side eye that shit, you know. And we all know, we all seen pictures of Hitler. He ain't got the blonde hair, blue eyes of an Aryan. So who knows? Who knows? But I digress. Where are we going with this? So all I'm saying is, give me a shout. Call me, Whoopi, because I can defend you or I can condemn you because it was still about race. And how do I know it's about race? Because the Nazi Nuremberg laws were literally modeled after the U.S. race codes, the Jim Crow, the discrimination, the forced segregation, the legal segregation, second-class citizenship, non-miscegenation laws. They had existed for over 200 years, really. Well, not really. For a century. Well, they really came into effect and from those laws in the United States, the Jim Crow laws came into full swing about a decade after, so like 1870. So between 1870s and the 1930s, y'all do the math on that, the United States and Hitler modeled the Nuremberg laws after the Jim Crow legislation, separate but equal. So that's why I say you don't need to call a racist white American a neo-Nazis. In fact, the white Americans were not neo-Nazis. The German Nazis were neo-Americans. And if you want to call me out on that, you come with your history books, I come with mine, and we see who started what tactics of racial discrimination and racial extermination and in slavery. The only difference is the United States did not have the industrial infrastructure to carry out its campaign that Hitler had. And that's what really, like a lot of the atrocities that the Dutch, that the British, that the Americans carried out was prior to video, you know, even prior to camera technology. They did not have the steam engine or the internal combustion engine. They didn't have airplanes. You know, they didn't have the chemical the chemical research to create chemicals at industrial scale. So we were looking at the Allied powers engaged in what we would call today low-tech genocide, pre-industrial agrarian genocide, whereas Hitler, when he rose to power, was engaged in what is called industrial genocide and industrial warfare. You know, up until World War II, even World War I, they were going to war on horseback. You know, they would get on horses with swords and say charge, and they'd have these rifles and get a couple of shots off with the rifle, but most battles ended up man to man, fist to fist. You know, they'd put a blade on the end of your rifle after you shoot a few bullets, then you had to run and stab the dude. You know, what no Gatling guns. There were no air. I mean, World War I was really the first major industrial war, but that was early industrial. They weren't really banging stuff out. A lot of World War I, they just dug trenches and hid in trenches. But that was the first war where they were using like poison gas and things of that nature. Prior to World War I, the war to end all wars, they were basically battling it out. A good half of the weapons used in wars, major conflicts prior to World War I, that was medieval technology. You know, I have this really good book about the evolution of the warrior throughout history. It's really good. It shows you. But I digress. Where are we at? Anyway, and another thing, there's another book. Let me show y'all one more book to show. Actually, it's two more books to. Oh, I'm messing up. Two more books to kind of show you where to defend our sister Goldberg. Sister Goldberg. One is called to show you how, you know, the race of the thing. It's called Hitler's Jewish Soldiers, right? Hitler's Jewish Soldiers by Mark Rigg. Mark Rigg was a researcher, a historian, and his whole life he thought he was that he was a red-blooded German. He thought he was a German. And he was born and raised in Texas, you know, eating steaks and eating steaks. Well, there's been other books, but he was the first one to come out with this, Hitler's Jewish Soldiers. And he went to Germany and found out that he was not a red-blooded German and a good old American Texan. He found out that he was Jewish. His heritage was Jewish. And that his lineage was Jewish. But he also knew that his ancestors, he's like, wait a second. I always knew that my ancestors fought for Germany in World War II, that they were part of the Nazi party and they were Nazi soldiers, you know, before we immigrated here. So how were my lineage both German and Jewish? Then he just did this whole research and said a lot of soldiers were in Hitler's army fighting on behalf of Hitler. And there's one section of the book that I recall that hit me the most, where there was this Jewish soldier who was fighting on the Western Front, fighting with the Nazi Blitzkrieg. And he was a decorated soldier, and he was sent home for a little R&R. It's like, you've been fighting on the front line for the Fuhrer, go home and relax for a minute. So he went home and found that his whole family had been killed. Some of his families had been sent off to be killed. Other family members, as opposed to face the Nazis, decided to commit suicide. So he walked in the house and found his father and mother hanging from the rafter and another child that had been like smothered or poisoned. And he cut his family down, took them out to their land, buried his family, and then picked up his rifle and went back to fighting for Hitler. All right? So that's another thing. And some of the people they knew were Jews, but they were so loyal to the Fuhrer that they became honorary Aryans. Like we got a lot of honorary black Aryans nowadays, Obama. And some of them just hit their lineage, went and got a bootleg, a circumcision. And one more book that every black person should read. Now, you should read it for other reasons, but this kind of speaks. There's How the Jews Invented Hollywood, an empire of their own. And it's written by a Jewish person, so don't be scared. But it's an empire of their own. And it talks about Jews migrating to the United States and trying to find a niche for themselves. But there's a section in this book where there were the Jews who came, where he talks about in detail, there were Jews who came to the U.S. early. And they basically would hide who they are. So if you came and your name was Goldstein, you would change your name, you know, just to Gold. Or if your name was Silverberg, you would take off the Berg and just be Aaron Silver. And they wouldn't even formally convert to Christianity. They would adopt Christian names, or they would alter their ethnic Jewish names, and they fully integrated. And then when later groups of Jews started migrating to the United States, these Jews turned white, just regular white Americans, joined in kicking people out of kicking Jews out of the country clubs, See, Jews were discriminated against. I got suspended from Facebook at one time because I'm like, a lot more people owe gratitude to African people and our African ancestors, because a lot of those no colored allowed signs, there were also signs that said no Mexicans, no Jews, no Irish, no Catholics, no Asians, but they wouldn't say Asians. They say no Orientals or some other slurs for Asian people. And black people, when the no colors allowed sign came down, all those other signs came down, even though we was the only ones on the front lines. And then at that very moment, like when they said no Mexicans allowed, and of course we know in the United States, Mexican means from Mexico, from Honduras, from Panama, from Argentina. They don't know. This is America. Racists are stupid. And then at that same time, when Cesar Chavez came up with the migrant workers movement, he was attacking the Jamaican seasonal workers and the seasonal workers from Haiti, trying to get them kicked out of the country. So as we fought for Latinos to become full citizens and be recognized and to end the formal discrimination against Latinos, once they got into a little niche of power in the agricultural belt of America, they started discriminating against our brothers and sisters from Haiti and Jamaica, the H2 workers. Mutabaruka, I mean, we have no friends. And one more thing, John Henry Clark said we have no friends, which I think he should be commended. But another quote we forget. In that same statement, he said, black people don't owe anybody anything except an ass whooping. Black people don't owe anybody anything except an ass whooping. Everything else we give to people, that's just comp. But where was I? Yeah, read Empire of Their Own. It talks about how all these prominent Jewish people who were just all American, who became Aryan white Americans. And the racist white people, the anti-Semitic whites, couldn't tell the difference. A lot of Aryan white Anglo-Saxon Protestant people, to this day had an offspring or a relative marry a Jewish person or a person of Jewish lineage, and they're all American Christian, Catholic, or Protestants. So it's a mess because, race, so Whoopi Goldberg, tell your bosses at The View all of that. And just donate to my Patreon, a couple of dollars, Whoopi. And the next thing I want to say, when I told y'all that Germany's had no colonies, that's not true. The largest ethnic group in the United States is not black people, and it's not Latino. The largest ethnic group in the United States are the Germans. If we look here, why y'all don't let me enlarge this? What is going on? I'll try one more time. Where print? I don't know. What do you press to enlarge? Oh, maybe it's this. Nope. It's just last week. Pro-unions or something lost their body. Oh, maybe it's up here. Maybe I got too much going on. Nope. Anyway, you see here, if you can see, with an estimated approximately 43 million in 2019, German Americans are the largest self-reported ancestry groups in the United States. The United States is a German country. To the extent that some historians control. Okay, let me see. I got a nerd on here. Oh, oops. I messed up. Okay. Let's see if this nerd is right. I just wanted to see this for my own enrichment. This control plus. Oh, wait, that's wrong. Let's try. Look at that. Nerd. Stay in, you nerd. Anyway, so Germans are the largest ethnic group in the United States. So, I gave this a few talks called The Myth of White Unity, and talked about how white people, there's this myth that black people have that you say, oh, black people, we suffer because we don't stick together. We don't stick together, right? And which suggests that white people have all the power and the money because they do stick together. White people are not unified. If being disunified meant that you would lose power, become oppressed, fall into slavery, then white people will be the most oppressed because they have more divisions. Like I said, we all know the N-word. We all know white racial slurs for black people. But your mind would be blown if you knew how many white on white racial slurs. You get it, you wop, you heave. There are so many racial slurs. You ask a Frenchman about a Brit or a German. You ask an American what slurs he has for the French. If unity was a prerequisite for power, Europeans would be the most powerless people. And I ain't saying black people shouldn't seek unity, but we shouldn't give ourselves the myth that, because we not unified is why we oppressed. That's just not it. And it might be a key element of getting free, but it's not an element of going into it. We not oppressed because we black. We're oppressed because they white. So anyway, holla at your boy Whoopi. I can tell on these people. You were right that it wasn't about race, but you were wrong because it was about race. Because the Germans, the whole German ideology of white superiority and Aryan, it's all based on myth. It's getting chilly in here. So anyway, let's move on from Whoopi. She didn't took up too much of our mind space. I'm going to try to rush through this. I'm not going to do this justice. We can pick it up some other time. RiRi is pregnant by ASAP Rocky. Now, I made a statement saying that ASAP Rocky was a coon. And a sister came and said, well, Rihanna's not a coon. I could maybe accept. She's a parasitic capitalist. She's a parasite, but she's not a coon. As far as I know, she's fallen on the right issues related to black people whenever she was asked to speak up. But she's marrying a coon. And I say this, cooning is contagious. So brothers, if you impregnate a coon, or sisters, if you allow yourself to be impregnated by a coon, you have to know cooning is contagious. So two things might happen. Either Rihanna's going to have to talk to ASAP, and let me just tell you some of the coon things he did. He did talk about dark-skinned women and put down dark-skinned women, but apparently that doesn't hurt your career because many prominent black men disrespected African women in their features and have had prominent careers and even still enjoy a lot of support from a lot of black women. Now, me, when you diss the sisters, I'm done with you. Call me a simp. I don't give a. If you diss the sisters, Kevin Hart. If you diss the sisters, I'm done with you. Now, he also said that in Ferguson, during the Mike Brown protest, they asked him, because they like to ask the celebrities, oh, there's a black uprising, there's a black rebellion, there's a black protest. What do you think? So they asked him about, a national protest that was going on, catching headlines across the world, black people fighting against systemic racism and atrocities. And he said, I don't care about Ferguson. I'm in Hollywood. I'm in Beverly Hills. I'm on Rodeo Drive, and you asking me about Ferguson. So black people are like, wow, this dude is whack as hell. He's whack as hell. And that's just something, and I can't name one song from ASAP Rocky. That's just beyond me. I'm just too old. I'm not hip enough to follow these weirdo dudes. But I just know he's a coon. His coon credentials are solidified. And the sisters are trying to defend Rihanna and say, well, maybe Rihanna was tricked or maybe Rihanna doesn't know. But I say cooning, if you marry a coon, you is a coon and you got to go to work. And I ain't faulting Rihanna. I just give you an example, a personal example. When I met my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, I was extremely homophobic. I was very homophobic. Back in, what year was that? 2000, maybe. 99, 2000, when we met and we were dating. And I was a casual homophobe. I mean, I wasn't out there looking for no trouble. I just was like, yeah, I'm a real man and gay dudes ain't real men. And I believe I was like Common, that Common has in one of his songs, The Bitch in You, women acting like niggas acting like bitches is the last days. I was called to say that the prominence of gay people was a sign of end time prophecy because I was raised that way. But anyway, I had fully embraced that. And my wife, she worked in fashion and modeling. She worked covering art, covering music, and she was very much involved in high society and high culture. Everything from fashion to literature to theater. So needless to say, and if you don't like the stereotype, then stop doing it. Theater, fashion, a lot of gay people. And she had some really close friends who were gay people. And I'm like, oh, you know, and when we going out, I'm trying to impress her. But long story short, she started dating a homophobe. And I tried to move her over to homophobe, like, you know, we might have kids someday. And I don't want them guys around us. And, you know, and I would, you know, speak out against it. It's hurting our community. We need real men, and writing poems, anti-gay poem, homophobic poetry. That's just, I was out there. And so we would discuss, we would have debates. And she would be like, you know, what are your claims? But anyway, long story short, she either was going to have to educate me or I was going to convert her. That's just how relationship works. And sometimes people meet in the middle. But more likely than not, on pertinent issues. If ASAP comes into the relationship on full coon mode, and y'all want to give Rihanna her flowers and claim that she's down for us, she's not. But I'll let y'all have it. I ain't about to bump heads with Rihanna's people. I got enough trouble with Beyonce's, and Jay-Z, and Ice Cube fans. Now I got Yeezy fans mad at me. So I don't want no more fan bases mad at me. So I'll give y'all. Rihanna respects the struggle of her people. She honors her culture and falls on the right sides of issues pertinent to the Black collective. She gonna have to. And that's all I got to say about that. And it kind of bothers me, y'all giving all these shout outs and acting like it's a game. But man, I mean, y'all should at least side eye RiRi. Y'all should at least look at that like, yo, what up? That's all I got to say about that. Because some sister came to me because I called ASAP a coon, and she was mad because she said that she thought I was calling RiRi and ASAP. She's like, yes, ASAP is a sellout, but RiRi's not. That's it. Well, the sister Awa says educating someone is easier than converting them. Well, it's kind of the same thing if you really look at it. I mean, if someone is truly educated, then and that education contradicts their position, you're not educated if you don't act on that understanding. Because if I understand, you know, that humans, you could educate me about veganism. But if you educate me about veganism, now I understand that I don't need to participate in the abuse, harm, and mass slaughter of animals in order to sustain my life. And I continue to eat meat, and I have all this information that I haven't been educated. I've been informed. But if I'm truly educated, then any information that you don't act upon, you can't really say you're educated. You just have some information, some data. But I digress. Let's root for RiRi. Let's hope RiRi can bring ASAP around, can get him out of Beverly Hills. You know, if she can put some of that, you know, get some of that West Indian sauce in his veins. But he's from New York City. I'm sure grew up on rotis and beef patties and cocoa bread. He's from New York. Where's my, I'm looking for my tea. So I digress. I'm just saying, when people who have divergent views come together, something got to give. So I ain't calling RiRi a coon, so don't come at me. But I will, the ASAP hive, that dude is a coon. And you marry or fall in love with a coon, maybe love is powerful or whatever, and you so into that, but, you know, y'all need to watch that. Because he might wake up RiRi and say, why you worried about Black issues? Why are you trying to create art and fashion for Black women, makeup for Black women, and when we on Rodeo Drive? Who knows? Time will tell. I'm ready to move on from that. Who else? Oh, I want to talk about Cosby. I'm mad as hell. Because there's this documentary that came out about Cosby, which is whatever. He's trending. But my problem is this brother who directed the documentary, they basically trying to R. Kelly Cosby. And so this guy named Kamal Bell, whom, you know, he's just a dude. He's just a media personality out there. I don't really trip off of him. But there's all these Black men. I haven't seen these sisters do it yet, but I wouldn't put it past some sisters that are like, yo, Kamal Bell is a sellout. Kamal Bell did a hit piece on Cosby. And from what I've seen so far, from what I read, I don't really want to watch it, but, you know, I'll watch it if we need to. I told you I would do movie and documentary reviews if my movie review tape gets 1,000 views, and it don't even have 500 yet. So y'all obviously don't want me viewing that. But I told y'all that I'd be willing, but I ain't really want to pay no attention to it. What really disgusts me about this is that there's so many black men who are saying that Kamau Bell is a sellout for doing this documentary on Cosby. And their basic argument is Cosby is a powerful black man that the system sought to bring down. My position is, how the fuck can you bring down Cosby when Cosby is a Uncle Tom sellout who attacked and demeaned black people? You can't be on the side of Cosby and be on the side of black people. Cosby has said and has yet to retract that black people could not blame white people for our problems. But yet, when he started going to trial, he stated that his problems were the result of white people and racism. And he said that we can't blame race. He didn't just say that we couldn't or shouldn't. He said he was sick of us blaming white people. Cosby asserted that white people met all of their obligations to black people. And he said, I quote, "We didn't keep up our end of the bargain. We didn't keep up our end of the bargain," meaning that white people gave us everything we were due. And so in exchange for making us full citizens, ending legal discrimination, affirmative action, and other remedies for the history of racism, black people took that and they were asking black people to be productive, lawful citizens of America. And Cosby's belief and what he said publicly on the platform, Cosby said, we didn't keep up our end of the bargain. So now the victims are the white people, because the white people gave black people everything we were due and then some extra. And we took it, and number one, we squandered it. And after we squandered white people's goodwill and resources and opportunities, we turn around and blame the white man. Y'all don't fucking remember this shit? What the fuck? Seriously, long before I heard about the rape cases, and I believe he's a serial rapist, long before I heard of that shit, I was fucking done with Cosby in the goddamn 90s. I was done. I'm like, man, fuck Bill Cosby. And if you follow BroDiallo, you go to my blog and you look up my writings on Cosby that predate his rape case. And I was telling people Cosby, and they said that I'm making excuses. Cosby supporters back in the day said that I'm making excuses for black people. Bill Cosby said, white people, cops kill us because we are unlawful. And if we became lawful, we had nothing to fear from the police. Cosby was a right-wing, ultra-conservative racist. And if you go back to the 90s, if you look at conservative media in the late 80s and early 90s, the right-wing media used to love quoting Bill Cosby. And every time a black or African-centered scholar would step up and talk about systematic racism and injustice, a white man would get up there, well, Bill Cosby, Dr. Cosby, as they called him, because he was given an honorary doctorate. Well, Dr. Cosby, this, and Dr. Cosby, that. So Bill Cosby, if you are fucking saying don't bring down, now what the fuck are the rules? If we go hard in the paint and we embrace race traitors, then when they go after, because they building the case against Clarence Thomas, ethics cases and conflict of interest cases. If they bring down Clarence Thomas, do we cry? Do we step up? If somebody makes a documentary on Clarence Thomas, when Obama's war crimes, when we're finally ready to reveal the treason and war crimes of Obama, are y'all going to be mad if a black person is behind that? I swear to you, if you can't look in the mirror and say, fuck Bill Cosby, you are part of the problem. If you're out here defending Cosby, who gives a damn whether it's a plethora of victimized white women or this brother with the unshapely afro, Kamau Bell? I don't understand it. How are you being pro-black and defending Cosby? Cosby is anti-black. Cosby was one of the most celebrated. He was America's, what do you call him? America's father or America's daddy, what they call him? He was the prototype. And he took as becoming one of the most famous, celebrated, and wealthiest black men in the world. He stood up and was like, black people ain't shit. Black people got more than they deserve, and they giving back less than they do. So y'all need, and the fact that the masses of black people, we got conscious black people, so-called Pan-African black people defending Cosby. So I want to say that Kamau Bell, he was too good to Cosby in that documentary. He talked about all the token and civil rights accomplishments of Bill Cosby. Oh yeah, James, one of my moderators was talking about George Jackson. If you read George Jackson, he talks about Cosby and how Cosby came to fame through an I Spy. And he went around playing a black spy back when the COINTEL program was in full swing. Got black people, little black kids looking at TV, taking pride in a black man going around the world working for the CIA. Cosby always been a coon and always been a sellout. And I don't care how much money he gave to Morehouse or Spelman or anything else he's donated. Cosby has done more to disparage and harm the dignity and the consciousness of African people. And fuck the Cosby Show too. Yeah, some funny jokes. The shit is funny. I ain't saying you can't watch it. The shit is funny as hell. But if you look at the underlying stories, what no racism in the Cosby Show? Cosby Show came out in the 80s. I'm old. I was around in the 80s. The 80s were racist as hell. This was the Reagan era. How the fuck you got a predominantly black show in the Reagan era and you ain't got no racial issues? You don't speak to no issues. It's all feel good. Progress porn. And I ain't against progress porn, but if you make progress porn, don't step up and try to act like you are worthy to speak on black struggle. You're just not. And instead of Cosby going out, and at the same time, remember, Cosby is a contemporary of Dr. Clark. Cosby is a contemporary of Dr. York. Not Lord. Dr. Ben Yakinen. He's more like Dr. York. But he's a contemporary of Dr. Ben Yakinen. He's a contemporary of Professor William Mackey. If Bill Cosby wanted to fucking understand the struggle of African people in the 80s, 70s, he could have picked up the phone and got Huey P. Newton. He could have picked up the phone and called Bobby Seale. He could have picked up the phone and called Dr. Clark and say, Dr. Clark, let me take you out to dinner. What's up, baby? Let me take you out to dinner. And he could have got the rundown. He could have went to Dr. Amos Wilson. He could have went uptown to Harlem and say, hey, Dr. Wilson, you know, here's a grip. He could have broke off any number of black revolutionaries back then. Cosby didn't know because Cosby didn't want to know. And let me tell you the greatest crime Cosby ever committed. Let me tell you the greatest crime Bill Cosby ever committed. He produced a rap album called Bill Cosby Presents the Cosnerati State of Emergency. This is the worst thing he's done. All the cooning, all the tomming, all the lying on black people. Remember when Bill Cosby said he went to a grocery store and he saw black children in the grocery store disrespecting he saw black kids in the grocery store disrespecting their mothers. He said, I go to the grocery store. This is back when he used to wear those sunglasses. I go to the grocery store and I see black children running around. Hey, mom, buy me this MF and cereal. Mom, MF. Now, I'm married to a black mother. I was raised by a black mother. When I walk out my house, I look north, south, east, and west. I see black mothers all over the hood. And black mothers, they got a lot of issues. But they kids running up to them asking for some MF and cereal ain't one of them. But Bill Cosby put out a rap album. And it super sucked. Now, I might play some of the music from that. I don't want a copyright strike. But that's the thing. And these rappers, they were dressed like Boys to Men. It was some weird shit. I'll give y'all a little something. I'll show y'all. I had to watch it. I don't want no copyright strike. But look at this. Somebody come look at it. Come on. I wanna break into the safe. Look at this shit. Somebody come look at this. Look at this. Look like Boys to Men trying to rap. Lord, have his mercy. I had to hear it. Oh, you can't even hear how bad it is. It's worse than you think. That's the worst thing he did. If he didn't come out with the Cosnerati, and then he tries to call, it's like the Illuminati, and he wanted these rappers that he brought together to come out with positive image, to teach black people how to be human and humane. That's the worst thing he did. I mean, I would accept, I'd probably be out here like Dr. Umar, talking about him trying to buy NBC, and it's all, they all lying on Cosby. All these white women, all these sisters lying on Cosby. If not for that, that's where all my hate comes from. If I didn't have to hear the Cosnerati, the fuck? That shows me that man is just, he's anyway, let's recenter. I wish I had a little gong or something. Sometimes we go a little overboard. I'm going to move to I wanted to talk about this shitty ass meme of black male mental health. I got in trouble for this too. I'll just show you the meme and we could discuss it some other time. I want to talk about mental health because it's serious. You know, my mother, let me just say, I was raised around a lot. I was raised by and around people that struggle with mental health issues. It's not really a joke, you know. But let me just show y'all this. And I don't have time to talk about it because I went a little too long trying to help Sister Whoopi, Sister Goldberg, work her stuff out. Let me show y'all something. Look at it. Somebody come look at it. Look at it. Just look at this meme. Let me see that nerdy stuff. Let me see if I can do that nerdy stuff again. Bong. Oops. No, it didn't work. Here, one more time. Bong. Oh, here we go. Look at this. Can y'all see that? I can see it. It says, when Tyrese had a mental breakdown online in regards to not seeing his daughter in 2 years, people laughed at him. He became a meme. When Kanye West had a mental breakdown on TV, people called him crazy, and he too became a meme. The world watched Will Smith listen to his wife tell him live that she had an affair. People laughed at Will. He too became a meme. And then it says, yet folks wonder why men don't open up about their mental health. There's a little cartoon of a black woman sitting next to a black man saying, why aren't you opening up to me? And notice, the woman is the core of all this. Women are such a problem. So I did this because I'm a hater. I'm against black people. So I did this. I created this thing. This shitty meme. I thought I'd correct people on this meme. What is that on top? Why is it showing that? I don't know what that is. You don't know what that is? You don't know. Why is it showing that? Oh, that's showing me something. Doc don't want to see that. I don't know what that is on top of the screen. Something weird. I'm sorry. I changed some setting on the computer, and it's got this. Oh, wait. Hold on there. Hold on there. Let me see if I... There's something weird on the screen, but if y'all... Oh, that's what I did. Okay. I fixed it. Troubleshooting. Anyway, let me show y'all what I did, because I'm a hater from the Himalaya. I said Tyrese consistently disrespected black women after he built his fame and wealth off their support. Kanye West disrespected the entire black race, our ancestors, while fully supporting an overtly racist, fascist president of the United States. Will Smith spread self-help, positive energy, inspirational nonsense to black people while we struggle with genocidal oppression. Yet, coons don't understand why we don't care when black elites suffer. That's what I said. And people got mad at me. Sometimes I sit at home at my computer and I do something like that and think, wait till the hood sees this. People gonna love me. People gonna love me. And then people don't love me. They mad as hell at me. So anyway, we can discuss that more some other time because I want to talk about black mental health. Now, I don't have the time, and I want to get to some Q&A. If we have something. I'm going to try to go back. So if you have questions, we're going to go into the Q&A segment of our sermon today, brothers and sisters. So if you got any questions, comments, or criticisms, I'm ready to engage with that because I'm sick of talking this. I'm saying y'all hear the music. So I'm just scrolling back to see. I did see one question while I was talking, so I try to speak on it. No. But I might, if you put in a question earlier, because there's a lot of comments, let me know and just retype it, and I'm sorry. So Francesca asked, consider adding super chat, super stickers. Those are adding options for support. I might go back to that. You know, YouTube is foul, but you know, I'll consider that. I appreciate it. We'll see next week. Get on Clubhouse. I'm kind of burnt out on social media. I got a homeboy who wants to make TikToks and stuff. I'm just tired, y'all. I'm tired. I was born black. I live black. So you know, my wife got on Clubhouse and she said it. You know, it was interesting, but I just can't do no more social media. I just have to. I'm stuck in my ways. But I'll look into it again. I didn't even know it was still up. Y'all remember when Master P said we made another one of them a billionaire? Ice-T. Master P blamed black people for Clubhouse being evaluated, and he said we need to make more black billionaires. That alone. But I got mad at Master P for that. But he want to attack black people, saying we made another one of them a billionaire. And I went and looked at Clubhouse revenues and valuation, and it had nothing to do with black people. It had nothing to do. It had everything to do with the stock market. So his problem should have been with capitalism, not black people. But it says here, fumes over $1 billion Clubhouse valuation. Don't you know a valuation? Does he's worth over 200 million, so he knows what a damn valuation is. And he said we making another one of them. He couldn't even say white. We can make it another white billionaire. Now I'm against white billionaires and I'm against black billionaires. I'm against all billionaires, and I don't think it'll be a win if black people make more white people billionaires, because black people have made no one a billionaire. That's not what we do. We didn't set up the economic system. We didn't write the economic policy, the taxation policies, the loopholes for the billionaires. Ain't none of this had nothing to do with us. I mean, there's so much you can blame black people on. Like making, if you want to say we made anybody a billionaire, and when we do make billionaires, we make Michael Jordan, who don't love us. We make Tyler Perry. So, I mean, shit, we not good. We didn't make none of them white boys, but the people we do turn into billionaires. We made RiRi a billionaire. Well, we didn't make RiRi. The sweatshop workers in the third world made her a billionaire. But anyway, so that's it on cool. Kunye is the new name. Oh, yay, yeah. And TikTok. Okay. Oh, we got more celebrity gossip. Wangisi states, I saw from a credible source that Will bedded both men and women while Jada stayed silent, but now we're supposed to stop and gather word for her. Tyrese was crying about paying child support, right? Yeah, man, fuck all of them. But I mean, if that's how what Will gets off, I mean, that's their business. You know, it's always funny to me. Let me tell y'all something about Will and Jada. It always seems that these scandals, these red table scandals and these cheating scandals come out when there's a lull in publicity. I think that they come up with this and, you know, they, you know, because, you know, and my wife was two-timing on me and she was like she ain't on social media like that. But if my wife was like, come to my classroom, I want to tell you something. And I wouldn't go down to the university campus and walk into her class. I'm like, no. You sleep in the bed with me. You ain't got it. You ain't anything I gotta tell my wife. I ain't about to be like, I want you to come on the BroDiallo broadcast. I got something to tell you. That's if we ever do that, just know we playing y'all. We looking for clicks and views and trying to go viral. Because if you lay down and wake up next to somebody, you know, and you ain't no reason, ain't nobody that you live with on that level revealing nothing to you online. Now, my wife might come online later and be like, y'all won't believe what BroDiallo did or didn't do, you know, but believe you me, she gonna her. That's just not how couples work. That to me, every time they have this they talk about their unique sex life or their I got into compromising positions, or Will Smith comes out and talks about, he just came out with a book and he's trying to sell that book. Every time something happened in their relationship, she's coming out with a new series or a new movie. They always got something. They trying to bring eyeballs to them. And it's all a persona. It's all fake. It's all Hollywood. The Smiths, man, and the Pinkett's, man, ain't nobody and they kids too. They just over there. And listen, they're entertainers. If their pretend family drama is entertaining to you, by all means, enjoy yourself. But don't fall for the okie doke. And don't put no more money in their pockets. TikTok. Well, I'm going to ask, Rip the Crip. I got a homie, my OG, Rip T. He's got a TikTok. He invited me to make some TikToks. I'm going to call him. See what we can do. Y'all don't know I have a theater background myself. I've done some theater. Shakespearean theater. I was serious about mine back in the day. Okay. We'll see. Do you work for Clubhouse, Arthur? Because I don't want Master P to get mad at me. I'm out here struggling, impoverished black man turning white boys into billionaires. They always blaming black people. Like, they act like black people are the drug trade. The drug trade is $1 trillion global industry. If every black person in the hood was a crack addict, a hardcore daily crack addict, we don't make or generate enough capital to fuel that. It's white folks. Them's is white folks. And white people making themselves billionaires by playing with the money. How about we made it? They're trying to blame black people for making white folks. And if we do it, ain't voluntary. I ask if you think America is happy about what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. How do you think that's going to affect Euro America? I don't think Americans are happy. The prospect, the United States only likes to fight against people who don't have the capacity to fight back. So, when the United States was going into Iraq, the patriotic Americans were like, yeah, give them hell, Iraq flag and eagle. There was documentaries where they brought on the father of a victim of the World Trade Center collapse. And he was like, I want to see the bodies piled up. So the United States will enthusiastically go to attack Panama, will send the troops into Haiti. They will enthusiastically attack Iraq only after Iraq was under 10 years of sanctions and had weapons inspectors in there taking out all their weapons for 10 years. Then the U.S. went there. They go to Afghanistan. And even when they go to places they can't fight back, they come with their tail between their legs. But that's another discussion. The United States does not want to go to war with anyone who has the capacity to fight back, even in the past, because they talk about, well, what about America's the Great War, the greatest generation, World War II? The United States entered World War II at the end. The United States stayed over here and would secretly ship arms to Great Britain, but the Russians won World War II. They had the highest casualty rates and they progressed fast. They fought the Nazis first and the hardest. United States does not want that smoke. The United States has been very fortunate because it's bordered by two huge oceans. So there has not been a land war on the United States for most of its history. There was the Revolutionary War, but by and large, the United States hasn't had to deal with foreign conflicts or with foreign enemies into its attacking. You got a client state to the north and a client state to the south. So the United States don't want no smoke. This is not a nation of brave, gallant fighters. Regardless of the commercials we see, regardless of the action movies, regardless of the arsenal, the $1 trillion arsenal that the United States has, the United States don't want no smoke. That's just the thing. The United States wants all the spoils of war, but it does not. It's not. So if the United States was going to fight, more likely than not, they are going to be sending in its proxies long before it gets in. If there is a war, the United States is going to push the British, going to push its French and other NATO allies to carry the brunt of the fight. And then also it's going to mobilize its AFRICOM. So a lot of Africans are going to be on the front line fighting, who's foolishly joined AFRICOM. So the United States will come in on the tail end and claim victory, or leave. And the United States claims victory when it wins and it claims victory when it loses, It's just weird. So I don't think that Americans are happy about what's going on in Ukraine. Then they're also very ignorant about what's going on in Ukraine. So regardless of how they feel about it, they don't know what the fuck it's all about. Just these crazy Russians doing, everybody that's against America is just crazy for no reason. They don't love freedom. Anybody that fights America is because they don't love freedom. And, it's wild. So I think that what will eventually happen is there'll be a lot of grandstanding. But what has historically happened is the Russia backs down. The Cuban Missile Crisis, Russia backed down. The last time there was when Russia went into Georgia, Putin was like, I'm ready. Throw down the gauntlet. What do you want to do? Putin is isolated. Putin's having a lot of trouble. So Putin is a less than competent leader of Russia. So Putin is using this to distract the Russian populace. The Russians is having a lot of internal issues, and Russia, there are some rumblings for true democracy, and he's out here fighting against a lot of upstarts, and a lot of martyrs and political dissidents are coming up in Russia. So he's trying to gin up the Russian populace to focus on its former glory. We used to be the Soviet Union, the Iron Curtain, all that shit. So he's using this the same way the West is often using this, to gin up people, to distract them. I don't think it will come to a fight. And Ukraine is a Nazi nation. It has a right-wing Nazi government. There's a lot of Americans who are right-wing Nazis and white nationalists who want to go to Ukraine and fight next to it. And it's weird because under MAGA, Americans loved Russia because of Russia's basically a white ethno state, and it's basically ruled by a man who's made some racist comments. Putin has said that the reason America is so weak is because of the multiculturalism and liberalism of. So just in the last election cycle, white racists loved Russia, and now they're ready to fight Russia on behalf of Ukraine. So it's madness. It's more white on white violence, white on white crime. The United States is really wrong. If I had to say, I don't support the Russian Federation and the Russian regime. I don't support the United States, but the United States has a military alliance that is obsolete and should be illegal, NATO. And the United States under Bill Clinton promised Boris Yeltsin that if he dissolved the Iron Curtain, if he allowed the Soviet republics independence, that they would not advance NATO beyond into former Russian territory, or former Soviet Union nations would not be allowed to join NATO. And then as soon as Boris Yeltsin kept up his end of the bargain, Bill Clinton began aggressively expanding NATO. And after Clinton, George W. Bush. After George W. Bush, so did Obama, and so on and so forth. I think Trump was the only president in recent history that didn't try to aggressively expand NATO. He kind of drew back on that. He wanted to defund NATO. That's actually one of the few good things that Trump did. But Trump didn't do it because he was good. Trump didn't understand. Trump doesn't understand geopolitics. Trump was an idiot. So when Trump did good, it was out of ignorance. But I did support his desire to remove the United States from NATO and to even defund or reduce U.S. economic burden in NATO. I think NATO should be dissolved. But this conflict is because the United States, way back under the Bill Clinton regime in the early 90s, did not make good on a commitment to not expand NATO. And so it would be equivalent to Canada and Russia making an alliance, and then Russia giving weapons and fundings and logistical support to Canada in a potential conflict with the United States. United States would not stand for that. But then the United States will turn around and say, well, we're going to stand for that in Ukraine. So that's what it's all about. It's a mess. It's a hot Euro mess. Remember that website, Hot Ghetto Mess? It's just white folks putting the whole world on the brink of mass extinction and nuclear warfare because they want to play games, nuclear games. Okay. Diallo, do you think there's a recession looming? What do you think of our community to brace ourselves? There isn't a recession looming because we're currently in a recession. Now, when you look at the U.S. economy versus Black people's economic status, you can't really look at those two things because there's a lot of times, well, the recession from the George W. Bush recession is still in effect. We never recovered. The housing and wealth loss under the housing market collapse that fed into the global financing collapse. We have never recovered from that. When Obama was elected, because of Bush's collapse, the Bush depression, Obama, the only sectors that recovered were the corporate sector, the Wall Street. So we are still in a recession, and there's really no projections for us coming out of the recession. Will this recession further intensify? Yes, it is intensifying, but I don't like making economic predictions. I think that the intensification of the recession will follow with the pandemic. The pandemic seems to be waning because of a few factors, the vaccines, and well, that's really it. The vaccines, and there was a more virulent but less deadly. I done messed up my computer. Hold on, let me see something. It just don't look right. Give me a second. Oh. Anyway, so I would say, yeah, Black people, we should be embracing ourselves, because when this is how it happens. Black people, what's his name? Claude Anderson said, racism holds Black people in place while technology steamrolls over us. So what happens to Black people in the U.S. economy is we get into a certain niche or sector, and we're locked into that limited niche or sector economically. And then a new technology will come to render us essentially obsolete. So he says racism economically holds us in place while technology pretty much renders us obsolete. You know, a lot of Black people went into trucking. You'll look online now, there's a whole Black trucking community, Black people buying our own trucks. And at the time we really got into trucking, they're about to do away with that as a profession, because the trucks, when the 5G becomes properly entrenched, it's going to be self-automated trucking. Black people got heavily into the mortgages and real estate, got heavily into that. And at the same time we got heavily into that, came the housing market collapse. You know, it's the same thing. You remember just a year or two ago, every Black person coding, you got to code. And then the metaverse and Ethereum and these new technologies come. So Black people, we're always going to be behind white people, because number one, they have a 200-year head start against us economically. Number two, they have so many roadblocks in us. So the only way for Black people to elevate economically is to stop competing with and seeking equality or parity with white people, and to go a different way. We need to do like white people did. White people did not come to the United States and get with the Native American economy and outcompete white people in the Native Americans in the Native American economy. They wiped the Native American economy away and they set up their own. Well, really what they did was create a small internal economy, fur traders and trappers and skins and small levels of trade. And as they invested more of their infrastructure and got powerful enough, you know, the Europeans didn't just come to America and all the natives laid down. They didn't go to Africa and all the Africans laid down. They set up first monasteries and churches, and then forts, and then trade posts, and then conquest. So Black people, we have to create an independent internal African economy. That does not mean buy Black. Buying Black, because many of the people we buy Black from take that money to enjoy the white spoils. So if we buy Black, and then the Black person we buy Black from goes and buys a Learjet to fly to Dubai and hang out with Will Smith, that is not helping us. That is not internalized. And so we can't do Black capitalism. We need to buy cooperative. We need to buy consciousness, and we need to set up material, physical, ideological, cultural infrastructure. We should be doing that, because we should always be bracing ourselves. Black people have been in a perpetual state of crisis since the 1870s. We have been in a perpetual state of crisis. When they talk about the Great Economic Depression, when they talk about unemployment surpasses 12%, it used to be the economy was considered to be in crisis if unemployment surpassed 3%, then 5%, then 12%. Black people have always had depression level unemployment. We've had crisis level poverty, crisis level housing instability, substandard education, high levels of chronic disease and ailment, substandard healthcare. We are in a perpetual state of crisis. So we should be bracing ourselves. We should be working towards liberation instead of seeking out relief, short-term relief from short-term crisis. We need long-term strategies for empowerment. So yes, brace yourself, but don't brace yourself to weather this storm. Brace yourself to secure yourself in a long haul and liberate ourselves. But for white folks, there is a repression because the Fed is threatening to raise interest rates. So that would lead to a recession because the Fed is dealing with inflation, which is, let me just answer the question. Yes, there is a recession looming, strong potential for a recession. But that don't mean shit to black people. And a lot of times, especially when I was a kid in East Hills Village in Kansas City, I look at the news and they talk about how good times are. And I look at my condition hadn't changed. When the stock market's up and down, black people pretty much stuck in the same place. We're stuck in the same place as racism holds us in the place, a racist legacy of racism and current racism, for some new technology to come and render us obsolete, and then we have to scramble again. And then Negroes like Bill Cosby will rise to prominence. And it's like, well, I'm an individual Negro who made $1 million, so that proves that the system is down for black people, and the rest of y'all black people, it's just something wrong with y'all. Don't blame the system. I had a black man, an educated, supposedly intelligent black man, and he told me that he came up upper middle class and wealthy. So he was not like a common black person. And he said that the problem with black people is not common. He said, let me quote him. He said, black people will go and have children before they turn 25. And then, because they were talking about Rihanna's 33 having her first child. And they said, well, Rihanna's wise and she's wealthy because she delayed having children until she was 33. And she said that black women who have children before 25 are going to suffer and live in poverty, and they want to blame capitalism. So this black adult, fully formed, educated black man who's had every opportunity that imperialism could afford a black man said that the problem with black people was not capitalism, but black women having children before the age of 25. So, just talking economics with black people is exhausting. So let's see. Someone got some quotes from Huey P. I'll just post this quote from Huey P. while I look and see if any more questions. I'm gonna kind of zoom through because I want to wrap this up. I'm way over time. Yeah. Here's a question. Natasha asks good questions. Do you think the community of online hate for black women is specifically from black men, but consumed by everyone, could manifest in a wave of real violence towards black women in the real world? It's kind of weird because you can't talk about something's going to happen. If you go back and look at last week's shows, I said that black people can't talk about genocide coming because we're under a campaign of genocide. You can't talk about a wave of violence for black women because it exists. It's already here. And it predates the internet. Black women having higher rates of violence predates the internet. So we can't really blame the internet. But I think that online hate for black women role in ongoing dehumanization, but all forms of white media, going back to when the white man first had a printing press, back when the white man had the phonograph, when the white man had just radio, before TV was invented. You go back and listen to the old shows and the Jezebel and all the stereotypes that are against black women have always been around. Everything that these black men think they're saying something new, calling black women, what was the term? Bed wenches and shit like that. That predates the internet. So if you go into a new technology, if we go into holographic technology and virtual reality for the metaverse, there aren't going to be new ideas that come. What's basically going to happen is that the ideas that are around are going to be integrated into the new technology. The United States creates this myth that new technology means we're at a higher level of civilization, or we're at a higher level of human intelligence, and technology elevates humanity. Technology does not elevate humanity. The only thing new technology does is generally it allows you to do with greater ease and efficiency what you were already doing. So if you have a savage, brutal culture and you come up with new technology, if you give a caveman, you take away his billy club and you give him a Gatling gun, you're not going to civilize that caveman. You're just going to make him a more efficient killer. So if you have a society that is both racist, and black women suffer what I call is compounding oppression, because you have all these titles like disabled people. There's ableist society. You have women in a sexist society. You have poor people in a capitalist society. You have black people in a racist society. So some people cross many categories. Many categories, and that is what is called compounding oppression. And a lot of times people under compounding oppression, they don't understand the systemic nature of it. So if I'm a gay black man, I'll be like, well, I'm gonna fight for gay liberation because black people are homophobic too. So they don't really understand the core. You have these vertical issues and where people's statuses intersect with one another, but intersectionality, of course. So anyway, black women, what's happening online? And it's got a lot of young women who grew up on the internet. Like my kids grew up online. I was around before internet, before there was a computer or several computers in every home and every home could get online. And all these ideas, if you go back and look at old media, you're going to find a lot of the same hatred of women and a lot of the violence. So a lot of times, if you get into thinking, well, this online hatred of black women, so we have to attack the online hatred of black women. If we could censor online spaces or get some of these people deplatformed, that'll end it. You know, and this same anti-black womanism, misogynoir, is going to go into the virtual world, the holographic world, just like it was in the print world and the television world. You know, you go look at a good example is like Coming to America. Look at the colorism in Coming to America, and the disrespect of not just women, but the disrespect of dark-skinned women in particular in Coming to America that came out in the 80s. And then you look at the new one that came out in the movie theaters and shot on the old projectors, and then you come and look at Coming to America in the streaming versions. And they literally show a dark-skinned black woman who literally raped the king of Zamunda to get pregnant. And the colorism is all still there. So, but prior to the internet, prior to streaming services, it was there. So even if you're a young black woman and you think, wow, the internet is real shitty, go talk to your aunties, talk to your grandmas. This is nothing new, and it does provoke or justify violence and everything else against women in the real world. So I can't say that where you say could manifest, I say it's continuing. I would change it, consumed by everyone, continues to manifest. So to make your statement accurate, the hatred of black women, specifically from black men, continues to manifest in a wave of violence in the real world. So it's nothing new. And I know a lot of times we have trouble looking beyond our immediate. A lot of black people, I'm suffering right now, and a lot of people that are struggling right now, they have a lot of trouble with trying to look at it from a historical perspective. Like, I don't have time to look, I got problems right in front of me, and you want me to look back when I got to look forward. So, but yeah, this is a continuation. And like I said, it's not going to be fixed by new technology, because it was migrated into the new technology from the old technology. This is social, cultural, much deeper than the technology itself. And it really disgusts me that so many black men, from Dr. Umar to that Kevin Samuels to before he went total coon, Tony Sotomayor, there are black men who built very large fan bases where the core of their offering, all they had to offer us was disparaging remarks. But again, a lot of black men, the best we've been able to figure to do since we got off the plantation was to mimic white men. And I'm not saying that to excuse us, but both of us, all black people, because a lot of times black men are told, hey, you got to get out here and get everything the white man has. You ain't got no job. And the trope of black man, you ain't got no job. You ain't got no money. You ain't got no, I hear this like, I don't want to talk to a man if he ain't got an 800 credit score and this and that. I even had a girl tell me one time when I was in my early 20s, I think I was 21, and she was like, you don't even own property. And I'm like, oh, am I supposed to? Nobody gave me that memo that I had to own a house by the time I was 21. And I grew up in rental property. I was renting. I didn't even know about how to buy a house. But anyway, so a lot of times it's a feedback loop where society asks of black men to produce what white man produces, but they expect us not to develop the pathology that white men have. These high value men, So it's a mess. It's a hot Euro mess. But the thing is for African consciousness, African centeredness, and revolutionary organization and revolutionary cultivation. That's the real solution. It's not really about, we got to clean up the internet or clean up music, but which is a part of it. But those two things must happen in concert, because if we just do one, it's just going to migrate the hate somewhere else. We need to obliterate the hate, not migrate the hate. And I don't mean to rhyme. It just came out that way. All right. I don't know if I answered the question, but I'm sorry. A lot of times when I get questions, I feel like I add more to the question as opposed to answering or solving it. But I think I'm going to wrap up. It's getting late. Yeah, it's almost 10. I appreciate y'all. Let me put the appeal. Thank everyone for their support. I really appreciate everyone's support. Somebody asked me about that Flores guy. I saw that earlier. I think black people should shun football. I don't think black people should be consuming NFL products or participating in the NFL. That's my thought on that, the Flores thing. If the dude get paper, whatever, I don't think it's relevant. But I think we should have long been off the NFL. I don't watch the NFL, and I so wouldn't let my child play no football. Basketball at least, But yeah. So on intensifying of violence. Yeah, the violence is obviously intensifying, but it's across the board. I think, social stressors, from the pandemic. So yeah, I think it is intensifying, but I think a lot of times more social economic things more so than the hate. But I think the stressors on society, so especially a lot of black men or men in general, and a lot of black men just mimic what white men do. A lot we're brought up to say, hey, we are promised the world, and what we feel coming to us isn't given to us. And so black men, instead of blaming white hegemony, capitalism, historical discrimination, they say, well, women are getting jobs, women are getting titles, and so the resentment and the statistics demonstrate that certain populations or segments of black women are thriving. And instead of saying, well, like Scheherazade, it's ironic that I'm quoting Scheherazade, because Scheherazade advocates violence against black women. I mean, she's a pick-me. Wow. I don't think she's a pick-me because she's been picked. She's been married for the same dude for a while, so she's been picked. Her motivation is something. But anyway, Scheherazade, the queen of the pick-me, actually said, the white man is the god of jobs. So if there's a segment or population that is either actually succeeding or has the image that they're succeeding, it's got nothing to do with that population, that being special. It's because it's just in the interest of the elites. And so she's like, we fighting each other over employment and opportunities when we should be fighting against our oppressor for it. She said the white man is the god of jobs. So any black person bragging about how hard they work or what they did and didn't do to get into that position, the only thing you did was satisfy the interests or the needs of the oppressor in one way or another to get where you were. Steve Coakley called them the oath takers. So yes, the violence is intensifying in certain segments or areas, but that kind of follows the sociological trends of economic, social stressors, insecurity, greater rifts between the haves and the have-nots, or the greater concentrations of wealth at the top, new industries emerging while old industries are going away, all these things. And if you have a society that is based on mutual support and just distribution of wealth, when there's a stressor or calamity, people tend to start to work on together. But if you have a society based on individualism, you have people preying, or what you have, descending violence, where people that have any type of advantage in the hierarchy of the system will prey on the people below them. And when you have a people under oppression, but they fail to have a revolutionary analysis and understanding of their status, what they're going to do. So if I'm a man, then I'm stronger than a woman. I'm a woman, I'm stronger than a child. I'm middle class, so instead of fighting against the elite or fighting against the wealthy, I'm going to attack the working class. I'm a citizen, so I'm going to attack the immigrants. So yes, descending violence is intensifying in people that are higher in the hierarchy or the status, whether it's on a larger social scale or just in a household or in a community. That predatory behavior, because people are taught that this is a consumption based. It's you define not by what you contribute to the society, but more so by what you are able to accumulate or extract. So yes, that's a long way around to that. Oh, it's 10:01. Damn. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up. I appreciate everybody. Oh, somebody asked about Too Short. No, Sotomayor, man. I think they're both problems, but in different ways. Chauncey, where you been at? Somebody grab a hold of Chauncey. I ain't seen you. I've been every day. I look for you. I didn't see you in the comments. That's all. What's up, man? What's up, baby? Take me to dinner. What's up, man? Are you back in town? Anyway, what's up, Chauncey? James, everybody, holding it down. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, support. You see scrolling across the bottom of the screen how you can support the BroDiallo broadcast. I appreciate everybody for listening. I apologize for overindulging a little bit in early on, and Whoopi Goldberg stuff. But it's just a lot of interesting overlapping things. We'll be back soon. I shot the video "Who Stole the Soul" by B. Creamer. I'll be doing my book review. I actually had to read this book twice. It's pretty dense. It's not that many pages, but it's pretty dense. But anyway, and don't think I ain't got it like that. Don't think, oh, look at BroDiallo, he got money. I don't. This is fake. It's a fake dollar. I use it as a bookmark. It's my favorite bookmark, but this is actually a flyer. Very clever. So don't be looking thinking BroDiallo just using money. But anyway, Who Stole the Soul? The Weaponization of Hip Hop, a Historical and Sociological Perspective by Bernard Creamer. After I post the review of this book, I'm going to contact B. Creamer and get him on for a discussion and Q&A session. So it's going down, y'all. And I have a couple of books I want to do. So many books I want to do next. I'm actually thinking of doing Locking Up Our Own, but we'll see. But anyway, I appreciate y'all. You have a good evening. I appreciate listening. Please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff you do to help people who are on social media trying to have an impact and a presence and stuff. So I don't ask for much, but what you can do, hook a brother up when you can for whatever reasons. And that's it. Also, I got a couple of Patreons. If you are a Patreon supporter and I owe you some gifts, make sure if you become a Patreon, you put your address or send me your address. If you don't want to put it on Patreon, send it to me directly so that I can have stuff out to you. Because some people will ask me, where's my stuff? And then I'll go and look and I'm like, oh, you didn't leave me an address. So, this is a one-man band over here. I don't have staff. I don't have devotees like Dr. Umar people, so I don't like falling behind on stuff I owe people. Just make sure you give me the information. Help me help you as you help me. All right. Anyway, so good night, y'all. I got some new outro music. It's mad fly, yo. So y'all have a good evening and thanks for tuning in.